times and worse. Yeah, in a sense, because once the Assad emerges victorious, he's going to owe a lot of debts to all of the forces that kept him in place. The sectarian tendencies are going to increase. He has to reward all of these militias that he recruited. He has to stand by his allies. So the situation is going to become even worse as far as a lot of Syrians are concerned. So I think we've been dealing with the situation, therefore, with some kind of arrogance when we're thinking that the situation cannot somehow go back to what it used to be, or that we can somehow emerge victorious just because we broke the barrier of fear. Breaking the barrier of fear is important, but we have to also break the barrier of ideological squibbling among the opposition. We have to be able to become more organized on the ground. We have to be able to become more pragmatic in order to sustain a momentum of the revolution. We have to be able to realize that we are now dealing with a two-tier revolution, peaceful in some parts, violent in other, and that it's okay. We have to be able to get the international community to adopt a more proactive stance, and that requires a greater level of involvement on part of the opposition and a greater clarity of purpose on part of the opposition in dealing with the international community. I don't see that happening anytime soon. So the reality is the situation in Syria, in my assessment, is, and I'm saying this, from the point of view of an analyst, is heading towards a situation of prolonged low-intensity conflict. This is not a situation that's going to be resolved in a month or two, or even a year or two, unless there is a drastic change in the international situation. Personally, that's disastrous. I mean, I am heavily invested in this, like Rضوان and others. The emotional toll on us is really almost paralyzing. But and making that kind of an objective assessment is, or trying to be objective, is really very difficult. But the reality is, we have to be able to put the facts on the table and be clear about them in order for us to manage that situation and get it where we want to go. The situation is bleak. The revolution is in danger, it's very clear that we have no sense of direction, no sense of leadership. And the international community is not supportive, regardless of the rhetoric, who gives a damn about rhetoric. And the Assads seem to be positioned to emerge from this crisis, if you read the facts as they are right now, victorious. So unless the opposition and those players in the international community who want to see a positive change in Syria, who want to see a regime change in Syria, unless they review their tactics, they review their ideas, they review their strategies, they review their stances, and adopt more effective ways of dealing with the situation, and frankly realize that intervention is needed, we are going to see the end of this revolution pretty soon, as far as the losing momentum, and we're going to say, as I said, the situation will turn into a low-intensity conflict that will be manageable for the Assads, unless, as I said, the drastic situation, on the international level really change. But it's a bleak assessment at this stage, and it's heart-wrenching for me to be able to, or to have to make that kind of assessment. But this is how I see facts at this stage.
Well, thank you very much. You should have been a few minutes more late because the SNC has been criticized by Amar, so it was probably better not to be here to hear that. But anyway, you are here, and I'm delighted, and maybe hear your response and your own assessment.
Okay. Thank you very much for SAIS for organizing this. It's a great opportunity to be there with a great friend Ammar. Mostly, I will talk in a few minutes about the assessment how the Syrian revolution is going. It's clear right now that after 8 months of the peaceful demonstrations that it's reached the peak. It's going to get the momentum. With the same time, the regime will not fall down with these peaceful demonstrations. Even that, we don't see any major crackdown among the regime. Then we have now two powers. The power of the people, which it has been 8 months of grave, peaceful demonstrations. Of course, overwhelming of the demonstrations are peaceful. With the same time, we have the full capacity of the security forces and the army, which unfortunately the army is taking side of the Assad regime rather than helping the protest, as we have seen in Tunisia or in Egypt. And this is why two powers, they are fighting each other and no one can win. The Assad or the regime itself expected that this demonstration they will be able to cool the protest, even that using the high maximum of violence against the protest. We never seen such kind of tactics of torture, only maybe in some areas of the Balkans during the civil war between the Serbs and the Bosnian. But the Assad regime is the only regime actually using some tactics against his own people, his own civilians, like actually stealing some organs from the bodies, torturing the people, and then calling the families of the mother of the one who's been tortured, that I torture your son, I break his bone, I take off his eye. This is such kind of practices which make the people, they lose their patience of non-violence protest. With the same time, using the full capacity of the army. It's not only the 4th division under supervision of his brother Maher al-Assad, but also other divisions in the army. It's true that there is a lot of defection in the army, especially in the low level, but it's not. We can say it's still 10 to 20% of the army, which is not significant number. Those people who are defected, they can organize themselves as what happened in Libya, then start fighting the Assad militias. But at the same time, we have the will of the people. As I said before, 8 months, and which amazing not only for Assyrians, for every citizen over the world will see that how they can go the street every day. Even that everyone is going to the protest, he or she will know that this is like suicide mission. He doesn't or she doesn't know that he will come back to his home or not. Because the Assad regime, he never used actually rubber, only start from live ammunition, which a huge number, of course, of arrest and detention campaign. 2 days ago, I have press conference at the UN in New York, and I said the number is approximately 30,000, which actually the arrests became nightmare for the Syrians. My brother in prison since August 30. My cousin also said it has been 82 days for him in prison, and 3 of my cousins. I have no information until now where are them right now. It has been 2 months or more, and this is, you can imagine, for one family in small city they have 5 relative members. This is why we can see that more than 30,000, the number is much higher. The Syrian regime is cancelled the football championship because they turned over all the soccer field to be detention center. The main stadium, Al-Fayhan Stadium in Damascus, the main stadium in Latakia, which is called the Assad Stadium, the main stadium in Daraa, all of them, they've been turned over to be detention and torture centers. With the same time, the schools in Homs, the cinema in Latakia. And this is, despite all of that, we'll see people, they are demonstrating. Then this is the time actually for negotiations, as we have seen in other parts of the world. But unfortunately, the Assad regime still feel that he will be able to cool the protest. He still start repeating the same propaganda that we have the armed gangs. He added last week the Al-Qaeda, like Al-Qaddafi. We have Al-Qaeda. Suddenly we discover that all cities in Syria, they have groups of Al-Qaeda. We have cells, hidden cells in Al-Qaeda in every city and every apartment.